Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another edition of Dark Power. And, as always, we are now going to be covering Impact. Before we get started, guys, remember to please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We want to make sure that you're up to date with everything we're putting out and that we're able to connect with you as best as we can. Alright, so I want to talk first about NWA Power, which is another episode of Carnyland. So this episode of Carnyland is kind of focused really on that mayoral election. Last week we didn't have an episode of Carnyland. This week we do. This week more people are throwing their hats in the ring. I don't think any of them stand a chance running against my girlfriend's cat Una, but that remains to be seen whether or not they will actually get votes. We already know that because of where Stu Bennett is 1 week in the future, that somebody's going to drop out of the race already. So one of these people will not actually be running in the race. We see a bit of tension with Strictly Business in that Nick Aldis is trying to figure out why he is not able to get the rest of the people polling that well, but it turns out that Danny Deals has a special ad for him, and it looks like he's going to be able to do very well. Because his ad, it's kind of funny, their ads are pretty much the same, with the same voiceover, but Nick Aldis's is going to be better. However, I probably would support Nick Aldis for mayor. He's the world's champion. However, that is really all I'm going to talk about for Carnyland. It's a pretty short, straight to the point episode. The most important thing for Carnyland actually is what happens in the beginning and has nothing to do really with Carnyland. It's a promo or a speech, if you want to say, that's probably a better way to put it, from Eddie Kingston talking about Black Lives Matter. It's incredibly powerful. If you do not watch anything from Carnyland this week, that's fine. Watch that promo. Watch the beginning of the episode just to hear what Eddie Kingston is saying and how he's saying it. We already know that Eddie Kingston has a powerful way with words, but to hear him voice the thoughts that he has about this topic is just incredible to me. He has a way of explaining the situation, we'll call it a situation, explaining the situation from the perspective of somebody who is not black. That, to me, is incredible because of how well he's able to understand it. How well he's able to take himself out of the equation and say, it's not my place to judge what's going on. It's my place to try to understand what's going on. And to understand that pain and understand that frustration. And I'm going to say incredible for a third time now, but it really is incredible how well he's able to do it. And if you are somebody who is struggling with understanding it from a perspective that you are not black, or you know somebody who is not black who is having a struggle with understanding it, just show them that. It's maybe 3 minutes long, but I thought it was very powerful. Now, I don't really have a transition to go to Dark, but going to AEW Dark, we had a total of 7 matches. Our world champion was in the main event, making a special appearance on AEW Dark. Really cool that we're going to have Moxley in the main event of the show. We're starting off with Low Rider and Fuego del Sol versus SCU. Quick tag match. Get SCU a win, get them moving back up the rankings. They are the original AEW World Tag Team Champions. Getting them in the mix is something that is necessary. It's vital. They need to be in that mix. That's really what SCU is. You may have singles matches where Frankie goes up against Jon Moxley or Scorpio Sky goes up against Chris Jericho, but until they really cement them as single stars, the bread and butter of SCU is being a tag team. So they have to be able to be in that mix. They have to have these wins. After this, we find out that Alan Angels has joined the Dark Order, and he is now 5. The presentation on this was a little weird in that there wasn't really an explanation given too much about why he's joined. Maybe that's something that we will find out as we go along, right? What are Alan Angels' reasons for joining the Dark Order? However, whatever the case may be, he goes up against Lee Johnson, and maybe that Dark Order magic stuff or secret sauce is starting to soak in. Alan Angels picks up the win over Lee Johnson. Brody Lee does have to come out and kind of give him that, focus, but Five does pick up the win, Alan Angels. See, what I thought was going to be cool, because they showed him from the back when they made the announcement. They were standing in what looked like some kind of Connex or storage container, and they have the Dark Order facing the camera, but Alan Angels is standing facing them, so his back is to us. So just as how 10 had the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5 diagonal, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5 diagonal on his chest, I thought that maybe they might do something with that. Now, I know that Alan Angels has tattoos, and if you don't know that, you are very quickly educated upon that when he walked out. He has pretty much full chest tattoos. But what I thought would have been kind of cool is if they'd done something similar to that, maybe on his stomach, but just the Roman numeral 5. Like just a V, just a 5 in that sense. That I thought would have been kind of interesting. There's nothing really that sets him apart from other Dark Order members because they're all wearing masks, right? Except for Silvers and Reynolds, but they're holding masks. So why is he 5? What's special about the designation of 5? That's something that we may find out. Maybe that V or a 5 symbol or a 5 numeral is something that will be earned down the road. It's interesting in that they are fully doing storylines now with the indie talent. That's something that we saw with the signing of Anna Jay. That's now something that we're seeing with Alan Angels. Let's see where this goes. Something to pay attention to. After this, we have Musa and Brady versus Pride and Powerful. Santana and Ortiz, they come out, and that was a horrible, horrible accent. PNP come out to do battle. It's a nice match, quick match, get the job done. A couple moments where there's a focus on Brady's boots, which are very shiny gold. Also, Brady at one point he wanted to go blow for blow with Pride and Powerful. Not a strong move if you're the guy there to enhance, but also a strong move if you're the guy there to enhance, right? In both in character and out of character, you can have that ability to view it from two perspectives. After this, there is a match here with Butcher and Blade. Butcher and Blade have a tag match, and this was something that we were talking about last week. What's going to happen with Butcher and Blade now that we don't know what's going on with Allie. Butcher and Blade pick up a win. They have a match on Dynamite the day after this Dark against FTR, debuting FTR. More than likely, FTR is picking up the win. This is simply a match to get Butcher and Blade more momentum so that when they come out, that win-loss ranking looks a little bit better when FTR beats them. That we can see, if you're somebody who's watching Dark and you haven't seen Butcher and Blade in a little while, you're like, oh yeah, that's why these guys are who they are, right? Now, what I thought was interesting is that previously, when we've seen Butcher and Blade, they've been wearing the white shirts, white pants with the suspenders. This time, they came out in their regular attire of the black leather, Blade's wearing that mask with the button for an eye, the zipper over the mouth. They come out with that more regular attire that we know them for. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how they differentiate between what we kind of saw Butcher and Blade becoming and what we know them to be. And really, why is Allie not there? There has not been an explanation as to why Allie is not there. Now, prior to this match, there was a short little vignette where QT is asking Brandy and Dustin to wear a shirt that Allie made. This is comical for two reasons. One, the shirt is a spoof or parody of the Natural Nightmares normal shirt, but QT is giant on the shirt, whereas Brandy and Dustin are very small. The second reason why this is hilarious is because he gives he gives I want to say a 3XL or a shirt that really is way too big for Dustin. And he gives the same exact size shirt to Brandy, who is much shorter and smaller than Dustin. And he just says, hey, Allie worked really hard on these shirts. I'd appreciate it if you wear them for my match. And speaking of Allie, speaking of QT, their match is right after the Butcher and Blade match, where we have QT Marshall versus Zach Clayton. Brandy and Dustin come out. Allie also comes out, is on commentary again. Match is going back and forth. QT's still not in that mode where he can pick up wins like other members of AEW who are facing off against we'll call them the indie dark talent. But he's able to maintain dominance, in a sense, throughout the match. There is kind of a moment where Brandy gets up on the ring ropes to not interfere, but just kind of help, in a sense, we'll say. And she is rewarded for her troubles by almost, I want to say, spraining her wrist. Whereas Allie comes down from the announce table, pretends to kind of get involved, does grab a shoe when a ref's not looking, breaks a nail, and QT is more upset about her kind of... I mean, she does get more involved than Brandy did, but it's not with the same motive as Brandy did. I'll say that's me, but that's also because I'm looking at it from the perspective of trying to understand what it is that this storyline is really trying to tell us. Besides, Allie has a weird infatuation with QT Marshall that doesn't make sense, considering I know she's married, and I don't know why she's left Butcher and Blade, and there hasn't been an explanation for that. But either way, QT definitely spending more time with Allie after her nail breaks than Brandy, who may have injured her wrist. After this, there's a really great match between Christopher Daniels and Sonny Kiss. One of the better matches on the card. It goes a longer match than some of the earlier matches. I think it went about 8 minutes, maybe just shy of 9. This match was really good to me in that you're showcasing two talents. These are both AEW talents versus AEW talent. And CD picks up the win, but Sonny Kiss looks great in the loss. Sonny Kiss is a talent that I think they may still be figuring out how to really break out, how to get him in a position that he will be able to shine properly. And that's something that may take some time. I hope it doesn't. Sonny Kiss, the in-ring ability is phenomenal. Maybe Sonny Kiss is properly paired with Joey Janela as a tag team. That might be the place to start off. Maybe, I don't know, but the problem is that the tag team division is already so stacked. There's so many teams, so the ability of Janela and Kiss to make a dent in those tag team rankings is hard. I mean, Natural Nightmares are, I think, ranked number 2 right now, but that's mainly because they've been beating talent on the Indie Dark Talent. So how they really work on bringing in Sonny Kiss and bringing him up, that's going to be something that I really want to pay attention to. Matches like this are a great way to do it, I will say that. And that's something that I appreciate with Christopher Daniels. I do think my only thing is, I don't think Christopher Daniels needed the win. It's the same way that Billy Gunn, when Billy Gunn had the win, but the difference was Billy Gunn was not beating an AEW talent. He was beating an Indie Dark talent. Whereas CD is actually beating an AEW talent. So that part of it's a little weird. After this, we have a solid tag team match between AEW talent again and AEW talent. Jurassic Express versus Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. We've been being told the story of Cutler and Avalon having to find ways to work together to try to maybe get the first win together, as opposed to keep taking the losses, and each one's trying to compete with the other to see who's going to get the win. Neither one seems to be able to. Let's try to put it together and see what happens. But they're showing some growing pains in whether or not they have the ability to work together. This match is actually, it's not full-fledged Jurassic Express because it's Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. But I gotta say, Marco, I hope Marco gets a growth spurt. That's the best thing I can say. Because it's not a knock against what Marco does now, and it's not a knock against Marco's size now. It's just that Marco is pretty damn good in the ring. He's still got ways to go, no doubt. A lot of talent in AEW does, because they're all developing, right? AEW is a combination of main roster WWE and NXT at the same time, in that there are those not main event caliber, but like, let's say polished stars, and there are the unpolished who are still developing. And Marco is one of those people. And my problem is that I don't think, even if Marco gets that polish, that he's going to be taken as seriously due to his size. It's really unfortunate. But like, if Marco was up against, take for example, when Marco faced Lance Archer, I can't go into that match expecting Marco to win. I can't, even if it wasn't Lance Archer's debut match, which I think it either was, or no, it wasn't his debut, it was his second match. I can't go into that match thinking that Marco has a shot at winning. Lance is like two Marcos, just in height alone. So I need to see where exactly their positioning is for Marco. If it's just, the fun-sized guy, as it says on his trunks, that's fine. But it kind of, I don't want to say takes you out of the match, but it kind of adds something to a match that we don't always want to be there. And that's that sense of, can I suspend my belief while I'm watching this, right? That's something that they'll have to work on. After this, there's a really good main event match between Jon Moxley and Robert Anthony, our AEW World Champion. The holder of Big Platinum is here, and he is putting on a show. Robert Anthony is nobody to laugh at. I've watched this guy at Freelance Wrestling, as I've said before. I have physically stepped over his blood that's laying on the ground in Logan Square Auditorium after he had a match with Kylie Ray for the Freelance World Championship. I know what Robert Anthony can do. He's a talent and I think it's really interesting that this episode of Dark is kind of split between Indie Dark versus AEW, Indie Dark versus AEW, Indie Dark versus AEW, then all of a sudden it's AEW, 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 AEW. But our main event is now AEW versus Indie Dark. Whether that means Robert Anthony might be somebody who's getting signed, either now or down the road, who knows? But it's cool to see him in a main event on a television show. And I always appreciate the fact that he did not bring Frank the Clown with him. I will say this. They had Brian Cage come out and be with Taz on commentary. He didn't speak or anything like that. But having him there, having his presence there, was really great. It just builds that anticipation for Fyter Fest. I'm more interested in seeing if anything's going to happen on Dynamite the next night. I'm more interested in seeing what may happen the week after, because they're continuing to tease that tension, tease that physicality. These two guys have barely interacted whatsoever. So these are all building blocks as we, the road to Fyter Fest, as we journey down that road. We still have a ways to go. It's about 3 weeks. Well, I mean, really, it's about a month out, because that's probably going to be the main event of the second night. I don't see how the world title is the main event of the first night a week prior. Anyway, speaking of what is going to be the main event, or what will be happening, that's something that's really addressed on this week's episode of Impact Wrestling. So guys, I'm gaining more of my bearings on Impact, right? I'm putting in the work. I'm looking at the stats. I'm seeing what's going on with Impact, and kind of trying to understand what is this wacky world that I'm now jumping right back into. So this week on Impact, we have a triple threat, starting us off, triple threat between Michael Elgin, Sami Callihan, ICU Sami Callihan, and Ken Shamrock. As somebody who doesn't really find it that great when older guys or gals are in the ring and they can't go anymore and they're still going in the ring, I gotta say, Ken's, to me, is barely hanging on. You might have a completely different opinion, and if so, more power to you. To me, I'm seeing some issues with Ken Shamrock in the ring. I remember I think it was Hard to Kill. I did watch Hard to Kill, and I think he had a match there, and that seemed alright, but I don't know, maybe things can change very quickly, right? You can wake up one morning, have a sharp pain in your side, and then it's all downhill from there. I'm past 30, so there are days where I'm starting to wake up and feel those things too. But Ken Shamrock has done a lot more in his life than I have when it comes to combat sports, when it comes to in-ring, WWE stuff, wrestling, UFC, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all just the mixed martial arts, all of that stuff. So I can only imagine what his pains are waking up in the morning sometimes. He is limited, and I think they're using him as best as they can. Michael Elgin's going to be the one who picks up this win. He's a man on a mission to get that world title. From what I understand and what I've been seeing, he was supposed to be the number one contender to face Tessa in a multi-man match. That fell through at the previous Impact pay-per-view. So Elgin's trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, somebody else trying to figure out what's going on is Trey, who was attacked from behind last week and could not compete in the tournament finals, which was won by Ace Austin. So now, this week, he's backstage with the other members of the Rascals, and they're trying to figure out... They're first talking about the fact that they are next week going to be facing Josh Alexander and Freelance Wrestling's former World Heavyweight Champion, Ethan Page. That's what was making me pause for a second. Because he was having a split time back and forth between Freelance and Impact, and that was kind of a really cool storyline of how they were doing that in Freelance. Anyway, that's off topic. On topic is that this promo, this backstage kind of vignette, they are talking about the fact that they are facing the North next week and also trying to figure out who attacked Trey. Then the North shows up, a little jaw-jacking, a little back and forth. They're talking about, hey, we're trying to figure out who jumped Trey. You should be focusing on what you're best at, tag team gold. You guys have had 17 attempts, according to you. Well, next week, those attempts is going to go up to 18, because you're not going to beat us, the North. After this, there is a match between Tasha Steelz and Susie. Tasha Steelz picks up the win. Great to see Tasha Steelz, who I formerly saw in NWA Power, now I'm seeing on Impact. Great talent. Kara Hogan is at the ringside with her, still learning more about the dynamic between these two and what's going on between Susie and Kylie Ray. But Tasha picks up the win in a strong match for the Knockouts division. After this, there is a tag team match with Chris Bay and Johnny Swinger versus Cousin Jake and Willie Mack. Now, throughout the night, they're going to be showing vignettes or promos of what's going on between Jordan Grace and Ty Valkyrie. Our main event is the title match for the Knockouts Women's Championship. This tag team match, I thought, was quick, to the point. Nothing too crazy to write home about. Really, this match is more about what happens after the match, in that Jake's cousin, Cody Deaner, he's back. He's back from quarantine, and he's making his presence felt. That, I think, is going to be something to pay attention to during the next coming weeks of these tapings to see what's going on. Next, after this, we have Jacob Crist versus Crazy Steve. So now I'm learning about what Joey Ryan's doing, this cancel culture thing. RVD is another one of these guys. RVD can still go in the ring, but is also somebody that you can see it's really starting to get to him. His ability, like how he's walking to the ring, even how he's moving in the ring. I've seen some of his matches because of the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. I've seen RVD have the ability to still kind of go in the ring, but the moveset's limited. I think it's time for him to maybe move on to more of a mentor role or manager role, but I mean, if he feels comfortable still going and Impact feels comfortable putting him out there, he's one of the more known stars that they have, right? Which is something that they need to do, something that they need to build. And here he is paired up with Joey Ryan and Jacob Crist, and they're going to cancel... What is mentally challenged Steven, I think is what Joey Ryan called him, or Joseph P. Ryan. I apologize to Mr. Ryan, but Joseph P. Ryan I believe he called him mentally challenged Steve. The cancel culture idea or character or gimmick, whatever you want to call it, something that's kind of cool. It's really interesting. I thought it's kind of a novel thing. It's kind of like the right to censor many moons ago, if you remember that from the Attitude Era. But it's a good character, and I want to see how they continue to build upon it. Who is the foil, the real foil for Joey Ryan? Because I feel like it's not Crazy Steve, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, after this, or maybe I'm getting my timelines a little off of what was going on, but there's an announcement about what's going to happen with the world title. So Ace Austin won the tournament to face Tessa Blanchard. He says that Tessa's not there for the tapings, so obviously they should be giving him the title. Moose is still trying to get Ace to face him for his TNA championship. Moose is not going to be involved in this segment. So Scott D'Amore is down in the ring. He's about to say what's going to happen with the world title. Ace comes out, says he should just be given the title. Michael Elgin then comes out and says, hey, I was a previous number one contender. I was supposed to be facing Tessa. This isn't right, and I should be the one. After this, Eddie Edwards comes out. I think he was returning. I'm not 100% sure where he has been or whether he was in the previous tapings or not. But Eddie Edwards comes out, and he's saying, hey, I got to be involved in whatever's going to happen with this world title. I think it was supposed to be Eddie Edwards and Elgin versus Tessa. That might be the correction. So Ace is going back and forth. They're all going back and forth. Scott D'Amore finally says, hey, this is what we're going to do. At Slammiversary, it's going to be a 5-way match for the Impact World Championship. Tessa will be defending. And so Ace says, you're an idiot because there's only 4 of us, right? There's Elgin, Edwards, Ace, and Tessa. And that's when we find out that Trey is actually going to be in the match, because he never, if you want to be technical about it, he didn't actually lose the tournament. He was attacked beforehand. So that's setting up our Slammiversary main event. After this, there is a match between Taya Valkyrie and Jordynne Grace to determine your Knockouts champion. The title's on the line in this match. Solid match. Probably the match of the night to me, outside of maybe I would say if I had to pick a match tonight, I would probably say it's definitely the women's match. Runner-up is going to be that Tasha Steelz Susie match to me. But this is a solid back and forth. These are 2 women that know what they're doing in the ring. They faced each other before. They're seasoned veterans. They're seasoned pros. I want to see less of the Rosemary Johnny Bravo thing. That to me doesn't interest me as much. I sometimes prefer it to be a straight out match, more so because I don't understand. But that's also me now jumping back in, right? I don't understand exactly what is going on with Rosemary's character, so I just may not get it. I don't understand why somebody who's wearing that face paint and is Rosemary is hanging out with somebody like Taya Valkyrie and Johnny Bravo. But the match itself, fine for what it is. Good main event. Good solid title defense for Jordynne Grace, who retains her title. And they are continuing to tease who exactly is coming from the WWE releases. We now know it can't be Drake Maverick or Rockstar Spud, right? Because he's now back in WWE. He's re-signed that contract. So his little bits in the video, probably want to toss that out. But who else it could be? Whether it's Rusev, Machine Gun Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. Even Rhino mentioned in a promo, in a backstage segment between him and Rohit Raju, that he already has a tag team partner and he has kids. Heath Slater? Who knows? But we will find out more next week, and I believe the ending cut of Impact is a quick hitter where Michael Elgin's on the phone with, I think it was Elgin, was on the phone with somebody and was saying, yes, sir, yes, I know it needs to be done, yes, sir. And that's how they cut. So I like that they have good hooks for what's going to happen next week. They set up the Rohit Raju versus Rhino match based off of what happened the previous week. Now they have a confrontation. Next week they're going to face each other in a singles match. We're seeing things. We're seeing more and more development. That's something that's nice as somebody who's coming from Dark, where Dark is basically just straight up matches, right? So anyway, thanks for riding along. I know this was longer than usual. I'm going to try to move things at a little bit of a quicker pace considering the volume of material that I'm covering. But until next time, thanks for hanging out. Remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Stay safe, take care of yourselves and others. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you.